Hamas is an enemy of civilization, and it will not stop until it is stopped by force of arms. This was true before the most recent horrific execution of 6 hostages after months of physical and psychological brutalization. Hamas killed these 6 individuals, including one who's a dual U.S. citizen. We'll talk about this. But this was true about Hamas, that it is an enemy of civilization, that it is an entity of savagery and barbarism. This was true before October 7th, even. This has always been the case. It is an evil death cult. And anybody who's wondering, how could you say such a thing? What is the purpose of Hamas exactly? It is to kill all of the Jews in Israel such that they can have their land that they say was theirs in the first place. Is that really what this is about? It's never going to happen. Israel has nuclear weapons. There are almost 7 million people who live there, and it is an ally of countries like the United States that are not going to allow for a genocide. So what is the purpose of Hamas? We come back to this. It's not to govern. It's not to do the best job that it can, creating a better future for the Palestinian people. No. In fact, it immiserates them. It steals from the international community mostly because it has no real economy. I mean, Gaza doesn't have an economy to speak of that isn't essentially the charity of the rest of the world. But Hamas has always been exactly what we have seen on display, not just with these 6 executions and the October 7th mass murder terror attack, but going back to the second intifada, where Hamas was blowing up suicide bombers in birthday parties full of kids and the elderly and pizzerias, and they celebrate this. They don't say, oh, sorry, that was a mistake. We didn't mean for that to happen. And by the way, in the case of Israeli military strikes, when there are collateral casualties, when there are civilian casualties that are collateral damage, they really don't mean it, because if they wanted to kill civilians, they could kill all of the civilians in Gaza, all of them. They don't want to do that because they're acting under the laws of war to the degree that they can. Nothing is perfect. No, war is hell is a truism for a reason. But they have a right to defend themselves and to fight back. And I think that you've really just seen once again, as though there needs to be a reminder, what the character of this terrorist group is. Israel was closing in. The Israeli military was closing in on these 6 hostages, and they murdered them because they just couldn't stand the notion that these Israelis, that these Jews would make it back to their families. They would rather murder them than let them be rescued. There was no military value in doing this. This was sheer spite, vindictiveness. And that's why we need to understand that Hamas is every bit as evil as Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda had claims against the United States. I could go into specifics about bin Laden's claims about the U.S. being in Saudi Arabia and the bases we had there, and, of course, our support for Israel, and a whole range of things. Everybody's got a claim for their barbarism. Stalin had claims. Hitler had claims. Pol Pot, Mao, all the monsters, the monsters of the last 100 years and beyond had some rationalization for what they're doing. Of course, Hamas has a rationalization. Oh, we're oppressed. Oh, we lost our land. Move on. A lot of people lose land. A lot of people lose wars and then have to go somewhere else afterwards. But they refuse. They refuse to accept that, first of all, the Jewish people have been in Israel for thousands of years. This isn't just some recent Balfour Declaration created phenomenon. But put that aside for a moment. What is the end state that Hamas really wants? It just wants the death of all the Jews. They wouldn't be happy with a state. Look at these Middle Eastern kleptocracies. They're all run horribly. They're totalitarian in character and often in function. So what are we supposed to think? That Hamas-run government is somehow going to be better and fine if only it had more land? It's outrageous. It makes no sense. But really what Hamas is about is Jew hatred and a death cult. And this is why the people on the left in this country, in America, and around the world who make common cause with Hamas or who support it or even just refuse to condemn it and play this both sidesism, they are morally rotted. They have no understanding of what is up and down. And unfortunately, in this country in particular, it's a luxury belief to support Hamas because they're not going to go into your pizzeria if you're a college student at GW or Yale or wherever. They're not going to go into your pizzeria and blow you up. They may do it to a bunch of Israelis, or they may kidnap people who are at a concert and rape, murder, and mutilate them. But they're not going to do that to you, the American left. So, meaning, the people that are doing that stuff or think that stuff. And so they support it because it makes them feel good about themselves because they think of Hamas as the fighting back entity of oppressed brown people. It's that simplistic and that wrong. And that's really what pushes all of this. Their identification with the victimized. But Hamas are the great victimizers of the Palestinians, although a lot of them support Hamas, so they get what they deserve with that entity. And then, of course, of the Israeli people as well. Would this have happened under Trump's watch? We are going to an election. I think it's worth looking at that and discussing it. Because an American citizen, I know somebody with dual citizenship, but he is an American citizen, was just murdered by Hamas. What are we going to do about it? What is Biden going to do about it? Is he even the president anymore? Really? We'll come back into this in a second. Keeping you as informed as I can and giving the best analysis possible is why I created podcasts like this. That's why I'm actually going beyond even the podcasting format with a newsletter. It's an email that will come to you every Monday afternoon. And I'm so excited about this because it allows me to go in detail and in depth on subjects that I want to write to you about. This is going to handle politics, national security, economics. And in fact, I'm partnering with some great minds who understand the markets very well, who will also be contributing to this email newsletter so that you can make moves in the markets that'll help you make money. And it's free. It's a free product. Why wouldn't you sign up for this? Listen to this podcast. You definitely check this out. So Brad Thomas is my collaborator from Wide Moat Research on the economic side. He's helped thousands and thousands of Americans understand what's happening in America and how to make real money and real financial security for themselves. It's really easy to sign up. Go to theurgentmessage.com. That's theurgentmessage.com. Please sign up today. And now on to, would this have happened if Trump was in office? I can tell you this, Trump would have given a speech already, and everybody would know he meant it, that if any American is killed by Hamas, we will treat Hamas as an enemy combatant the same way we treated ISIS and Al-Qaeda and others, which means not only will we help the Israelis go after them, but we'll go after them as we see fit. Remember, Hamas leadership are in countries in a whole bunch of places. It's not just in Gaza. They're in the Gulf states. They travel elsewhere around the Middle East. So we might just have to take some of them out, take them off the battlefield. I think Trump would have made that very clear. But we have an administration that, remember, cares first and foremost, more than anything, about staying in power here in America at home. That means selling out any allies that they have to and selling out any principle. They simply don't care about any of that. Power is their currency. Power is what matters to them. And so this is why Biden and Kamala, to the degree Kamala is really involved in anything, this is ridiculous, have been playing this both sides game on Israel in its war with Hamas and tried to hold them back in Rafah. Remember, this happened. These 6 hostages were executed in Rafah, and Biden and this White House slowed down the IDF's efforts there, slowed it down purposefully, and threatened to withhold arms and assistance. Why are we interfering because we're interfering in Israeli military operations with our diplomacy and our soft power, weapons, materiel, because Biden is worried that he's going to lose the votes of Muslims in Michigan who hate Jews in Israel. That's what it is. That's the truth. And because there's also a contingent of the Democrat Party that is just loony left and hates Israel, which even includes some American Jews, by the way, who are really secular, non-religious. They're communists. They're not actually in any meaningful way Jewish. They're ethnically Jewish, but they're ideologically communists, and they're of the left, and some of them hate Israel too. But the ones who really hate Israel, and the ones who really hate the Jews, are these Muslim radicals who vote Democrat in this country. That's just the reality. And this is why Biden and Kamala have been slowly but surely selling out Israel on this issue. But I mean, just think about this. Hamas took babies, and toddlers hostage. You couldn't give, if you gave an American service member an order to go seize, 1-year-olds as hostages in a terrorist operation where you're going to threaten to murder them unless you get, nobody in our military would do that. In fact, people in our military would take up arms against the person who would give such an order as an unlawful order. There's absolutely no way that would ever happen, because the American people are a good people. Are the Palestinian people of Gaza? A lot of them are not. Are most of them good people? I don't know. Some of them? I mean, Hamas, they deserve to be treated as enemy combatants on the battlefield, and Hamas deserves to have its fighters killed. The same way that Al-Qaeda did. I don't see how this is any different at all. I mean, if we view the U.S. as having a moral right to go after Al-Qaeda for attacking us and killing people with drones, with surgical strikes, with whatever we had to, and rolling in a striker brigade and lighting them up with 50 cals on the streets of Mosul or Baghdad or wherever. However we had to take out the bad guys, we did it. And Israel has that same right. So I'm just sorry that they've been stabbed in the back by the Democrat Party in this country, but that's what the Democrat Party is. That shouldn't be surprising to anybody. I was just speaking about some of our war on terror, and far too many veterans who have served our country honorably are now homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, and Glenda Williams is one of them. Glenda is a U.S. Army veteran who faced homelessness along with her 5 children. She was struggling to keep up with rent and basic living expenses. She was in a dilapidated home with rodents, broken windows. It was a mess. And then the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Homeless Veteran Program came in and provided Glenda not just with shelter, but a safe and secure environment where she and her children could thrive. She has since returned to school. She's pursuing a degree, and her children are excelling. Imagine what this means to a veteran like Glenda to know that people like you were there for her when she needed help after she had served her country. This is where Tunnel to Towers is so amazing, and this is where you come in. Support Tunnel to Towers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. All right, we're going to have more on the foreign policy failings of Biden and Kamala later this week. But just remember, in this fight against Hamas, it is a good versus evil choice that is being made here. And we stand with the righteous. Shields high.